The sky over the desert burns longer than it should. Sergeant Daniel Hayes watches the horizon from the back of the armored truck, his fingers still wrapped around the cold steel of his rifle. The explosion is miles away, but the shockwave reaches them anyway low, distant, like thunder rolling beneath the earth. No one speaks at first. Private Cole finally breaks the silence. That wasn't just one strike. Hayes doesn't answer. He already knows. The convoy slows. Engines growl unevenly as drivers hesitate, waiting for orders that don't come. Overhead, the faint silhouette of aircraft cuts across the fading light fast. Purposeful, gone in seconds. The war has already moved ahead of them. Radio's dead, mutters Corporal Reyes from the front seat. He slaps the side of the receiver. Static hisses back. Command's gone quiet. Hayes leans forward, or overwhelmed. That thought hangs in the air, heavier than the dust. Another flash blooms on the horizon, closer this time. A delayed rumble follows, sharper, more violent. The ground beneath the tires trembles. Cole swallows hard. Sir, what exactly did we hit? Hayes finally speaks, his voice low and controlled. Targets don't matter now. He pauses. What matters is what hits back. The convoy halts completely. Up ahead, a line of vehicles has stopped in the middle of the narrow desert road. Soldiers dismount, scanning the ridgeline. Something isn't right. Hayes jumps down from the truck, boots crunching against dry gravel. The air smells wrong now, burnt metal, fuel, something chemical. Then he hears it, a distant, rising whistle. His head snaps upward. Move, Hayes shouts. The first incoming missile slams into the convoy's lead vehicle. In a blinding flash, fire erupts, tearing metal apart like paper. The blast wave punches through the line, throwing men off their feet. Hayes hits the ground hard, ears ringing. Dust swallows everything. Screams cut through the chaos. Ambush. Someone yells, though there are no visible enemies, only fire from the sky. Hayes forces himself up, coughing, vision blurred. Through the haze, he sees flames climbing from shattered trucks. Silhouettes of soldiers dragging the wounded, weapons raised at nothing. Another whistle. Closer. Too close. Hayes grabs Cole by the vest, shoving him behind the wreckage of a burning vehicle. Stay down. The second missile descends. And for a split second, Hayes understands something terrifying. This isn't retaliation. This is preparation. The explosion rips the air apart. Hayes feels the heat before the sound, an instant of searing pressure, like the desert itself has turned against them. The second missile detonates just beyond the convoy, spraying earth, metal, and fire across the road. For a moment, there is nothing but ringing silence. Then the world comes rushing back. Screams, engines choking, ammunition cooking off in sharp, violent pops. Hayes lifts his head from the dirt. His helmet is half loose, vision blurred by dust and sweat. He wipes his eyes and forces himself upright. Cole, he shouts. A hand reaches out from behind the wreckage. Cole is alive, shaken, bleeding from the forehead, but alive. I'm here, Cole gasps. Hayes grips his shoulder. Stay with me. You can move. Cole nods, though his hands tremble. Good enough. Hayes turns, scanning the devastation. The lead vehicles are gone, reduced to burning frames. A truck farther down the line has flipped onto its side, its wheels still spinning slowly in the air. Men stumble through smoke, dragging the wounded, shouting over each other. No clear command, no structure, just survival. Raise, Hayes yells. There's no response. He moves forward, staying low, pulling Cole with him. The heat from the fires presses against his face as they pass what used to be the front vehicle. The smell hits him next, burnt rubber, fuel, something worse he refuses to name. A figure lies near the wreckage. Raise, Hayes drops beside him. The corporal's eyes are open, unfocused. Blood darkens his uniform. For a second, Hayes thinks he's already gone. Then Reyes exhales a weak, broken sound. Hayes, he whispers. I'm here, Hayes says quickly, kneeling close. You're gonna be fine. It's a lie. They both know it. Reyes tries to smile. Radio. Didn't. Fail. Hayes leans in. What? Reyes coughs, a thin line of blood forming at his lips. They're jamming us. Whole sector. The words hit harder than the missiles. No communication. No support. They are blind. Another distant whistle echoes across the desert. Hayes looks up sharply. More incoming. Someone screams. Panic spreads instantly. Soldiers scatter, diving for any cover they can find. But there is nowhere to hide, only wreckage and open ground. Hayes grabs Cole again, pulling him behind a twisted piece of metal. Why are they hitting us like this? Cole shouts, voice cracking. Hayes doesn't answer right away. His eyes scan the sky, searching for something, anything that makes sense. Then he sees it. Far above, barely visible through the smoke. Small dark shapes moving in formation. Drones, watching, waiting. This isn't random. This is controlled. Systematic. Hayes feels a cold realization settle in his chest. They are not just under attack. They are being studied. The whistle grows louder, closer. Hayes tightens his grip on his rifle, heart pounding. "Don't move," he mutters. The third strike is already falling. The third missile never hits the convoy. It strikes the ridge above them. For a split second, Hayes thinks they've been spared until the mountain explodes. Rock and sand cascade downward in a violent avalanche. The ridgeline fractures, collapsing into a roaring wave of debris that crashes toward the road. "Move," Hayes shouts, already dragging Cole to his feet. The ground shakes as boulders slam into the convoy. One of the remaining trucks is crushed instantly, flattened beneath tons of stone. Soldiers scatter in every direction, their formation completely broken. This isn't just bombardment, it's entrapment. Hayes runs, boots slipping in loose gravel, pulling Cole behind him. Dust swallows the air, thick and choking. Visibility drops to nothing. Behind them, the road disappears under rubble. Ahead only open desert. They've been cut off. Hayes slows just enough to orient himself. The convoy is gone now, buried, burning, erased. The survivors are scattered in small clusters, shouting, disoriented, leaderless. "Sir, where do we go?" Cole asks, his voice barely holding together. Hayes scans the horizon. No radio, no command, no extraction, just instinct. "South," he says finally. "We move south. Stay low, stay spread out. It's not a plan. It's the only option." A small group forms around him, 5 soldiers, all that's left within reach. Faces covered in dust, eyes wide with shock. None of them speak. They start moving. Each step feels exposed. The desert stretches endlessly, offering no cover, no safety. Above them, the faint hum of drones continues, circling like predators. Watching, Hayes keeps his head down, forcing himself to think. This was planned. The strikes, the jamming, the collapse of the ridge, it all fits too perfectly. They weren't meant to survive the convoy, but some did, which means a sharp crack cuts through the air. Gunfire. Hayes drops instantly, pulling the others down with him. Bullets kick up sand just meters away. Contact front. One of the soldiers shouts. Shapes emerge through the thinning. Dust figures moving along the edge of the debris field. Armed. Advancing. Not drones. Ground forces. They were waiting, Hayes mutters, realization hitting hard. The missiles weren't the end. They were the beginning. "Return fire," he orders. Rifles snap to shoulders. The silence of the desert shatters as gunfire erupts, echoing across the open land. Cole fires beside him, hands still shaking but steady enough. The enemy moves with precision, spreading out, closing distance, using the chaos as cover. Hayes tracks a figure, squeezes the trigger. One shot. Controlled. The target drops, but there are more, always more. The group begins to fall back, step by step, firing as they move. No cover, no backup, just survival. Then Hayes hears it again. That distant, rising whistle. His blood runs cold. "Down," he shouts, because this time, they're not aiming at the convoy. They're aiming at the survivors. The fourth strike lands among them. The blast throws Hayes off his feet, slamming him into the sand with bone-jarring force. For a moment, there is no sound, only a dull, crushing pressure inside his skull. Then the screaming returns. Hayes coughs, dragging air into his lungs as dust fills his mouth. He pushes himself up, vision swimming. Ears ringing so loudly, it drowns out everything else. "Cole," he tries to shout, but he can't hear his own voice. Shapes move through the haze. One of the soldiers is down motionless, half buried under sand and debris. Another stumbles in circles, disoriented, rifle hanging uselessly at his side. The enemy keeps advancing. Hayes forces himself to focus. He grabs his rifle, steadies it against his shoulder, and fires. The recoil grounds him. One target drops. He shifts, fires again. Controlled, measured, survive. A hand grabs his arm. Cole. His face is pale beneath the dust, eyes wide with panic. He's saying something, shouting, but Hayes can't hear it. Not yet. Then, slowly, the ringing fades. "We can't stay here." Cole's voice cuts through at last. Hayes nods, scanning their surroundings. They're exposed, completely exposed. The ridge behind them is now a wall of rubble. The desert ahead offers no cover. The enemy is closing in from the flank, using the terrain they just destroyed as their shield. And above, still the drones, still watching. Hayes makes a decision. "We push forward," he says, voice firm despite the chaos. "Break through before they tighten the net." Cole hesitates. That's straight into them. It's the only direction. They don't expect us to survive. A beat. Then Cole nods. Hayes turns to the remaining men, 3 now, barely holding together. "On me. We move fast. We don't stop." There's no argument. No time. They rise as one. And run. Gunfire erupts instantly. Bullets slice through the air, kicking up sand around their feet. One of the soldiers goes down mid-stride, dropping without a sound. The rest keep moving. Hayes sprints straight toward the enemy line, heart hammering, every instinct screaming against it. He fires as he runs short bursts, forcing the enemy to hesitate. For a second, it works. The advancing line falters, caught off guard by the sudden charge. Hayes closes the distance, adrenaline burning through his veins. He sees their faces now young, focused, just as shocked as he is. This close, it's no longer strategy. It's survival. He tackles one to the ground, the impact knocking the breath from both of them. The rifle skids away. Hands struggle, sand. Hayes fights with everything he has left. Around him, chaos explodes into close combat shouting. Gunshots, bodies colliding in the dust. Then, a sharp metallic click. Hayes freezes. He looks up. A rifle is pointed directly at his chest. The soldier holding it doesn't fire. Not yet. The world narrows to the barrel of a rifle. Hayes stares straight into it, chest heaving, sand clinging to his face and uniform. The soldier holding the weapon is young, no older than 20. His hands are steady, but his eyes are not. For a second, neither of them moves. Around them, the battle still rages, shouts, gunfire. The dull thud of distant explosions, but here, in this moment, everything slows. Hayes raises his hands slightly. Not surrender. Just enough. The young soldier hesitates. A voice cuts through the chaos, sharp, commanding, in a language Hayes doesn't fully understand. The rifle wavers, then steadies again. The soldier swallows, tightening his grip. Hayes sees it clearly now. Fear. Not hatred. Not rage. Fear. Another shout from behind the enemy line, closer this time. Urgent. The young soldier glances back. That single mistake is enough. Hayes moves. He lunges forward, grabbing the rifle, twisting it hard. The weapon discharges into the sand as they struggle. The soldier loses balance. Hayes drives into him, forcing him down. A quick, brutal motion. Silence. Hayes freezes for half a second, breath caught in his throat. No time. He grabs the rifle, rolling to his feet. Cole, he shouts. Cole emerges through the dust, dragging one of the wounded. Only 2 others remain standing now. The rest, gone. We've got to move. Cole yells. Hayes nods, scanning the battlefield. The enemy line is fractured, but not broken. More figures are moving in from the ridge, reinforcing, tightening the perimeter. The window is closing fast. Then Hayes sees it. A narrow gap between 2 advancing groups, thin, unstable, but open. That way, he shouts, pointing. They run again. Every step burns. Every breath feels like fire. Gunshots crack behind them, some too close, others fading as they push forward. Hayes doesn't look back. He can't. The ground begins to slope downward. The terrain shifting from open desert to scattered rock formations, small, jagged outcrops offering the first real cover they've seen. They dive behind the rocks, collapsing into the shadows. For a moment, silence. Only their breathing, ragged and uneven. Cole leans back against the stone, eyes wide. We made it. Hayes doesn't answer. He peers over the edge carefully. The enemy has stopped advancing, not retreating, just holding position, watching, waiting. Hayes feels it again, that cold, creeping realization. This isn't a chase. It's control. They're hurting us, he says quietly. Cole frowns. What? Hayes scans the terrain ahead. The rocks form a natural path, a narrow corridor leading deeper into the desert, boxed in on both sides. A funnel. They're not trying to kill us anymore, Hayes mutters. Cole's voice drops. Then what are they doing? Hayes doesn't look at him. He keeps his eyes on the path ahead. They want us to go somewhere. A distant engine hum rises in the silence. Low, mechanical, approaching. The sound grows louder. Not aircraft, not artillery. Engines, heavy ones. Hayes presses himself against the rock, peering through a narrow gap. Heat shimmers across the desert floor, distorting the view, but the shapes coming into focus are unmistakable. Armored vehicles, low, angular silhouettes moving steadily across the sand, cutting off any chance of escape behind them. Cole sees it too. They're closing the rear. Hayes nods once. Front blocked by terrain, rear sealed by armor, flanks controlled by infantry. A perfect trap. The realization settles in with a quiet, suffocating weight. They were never meant to break through. They were meant to be pushed here. One of the wounded soldiers groans softly, clutching his side. Blood seeps through his fingers, dark against the dust. The other stares blankly ahead, shock hollowing his face. Hayes looks at them, then back toward the narrowing path. Options run through his mind: fight, run, hide. None of them lead out. The engine noise slows, then stops. Silence follows. A voice echoes across the rocks, amplified, commanding, not shouted in panic but delivered with calm certainty. A language Hayes only partially understands, but the meaning is clear. Surrender. Cole shakes his head immediately. No, no way. Hayes doesn't respond. He keeps watching. Figures begin to appear along the ridgelines above them, silhouettes against the pale sky. Rifles aimed, steady, disciplined. No rush, no chaos. Total control. They've got us, Cole whispers, his voice cracking despite himself. The wounded soldier tries to push himself up. We can still fight. A single shot cracks through the air. The bullet strikes the rock inches from his head, spraying dust across his face. A warning. Nothing more. Hayes exhales slowly. They could fight. For a few seconds. Maybe a minute. And then it would end. He looks at Cole. Really looks at him. Young. Terrified. Still alive. For now. Hayes lowers his rifle. Cole stares at him in disbelief. What are you doing? Hayes doesn't answer right away. The voice calls out again, sharper this time. Closer. Hayes places the rifle on the ground. One deliberate movement. I'm keeping you alive, he says quietly. Cole's jaw tightens. His hands shake around his weapon. For a moment, it looks like he might refuse. Then another shot cracks overhead. Closer this time. Cole flinches. Slowly, reluctantly, he lowers his rifle too. One by one, the others follow. Weapons hit the sand with dull, final thuds. Hands rise. The figures on the ridge begin to descend, closing in with controlled precision. Boots crunch against stone. Rifles never waver. Hayes stands still, every muscle tense, every instinct screaming against what he's doing. But he doesn't move. The first soldier reaches him, stepping close, weapon trained center mass. Up close, the man's face is unreadable. Professional. Calm. He gestures sharply. Turn around. Hayes complies. Hands still raised. As they're bound and disarmed, Hayes glances. Darkness breathes around him. The hood is tight, rough fabric pressed against Hayes's face, trapping heat and dust with every breath. His hands are bound behind his back tight enough to cut circulation, not tight enough to lose feeling. Controlled. Measured. Everything about this is controlled. Boots scrape against gravel as he's pushed forward. The ground beneath his feet shifts rock to packed sand, then metal. A ramp. He's shoved upward. Inside, the air changes instantly, cooler, enclosed. The hollow echo of movement inside a vehicle. An armored transport. Hayes stumbles, catching himself against a hard surface before a hand forces him down onto a bench. The engine roars louder now, vibrating through the metal walls. More bodies are shoved in beside him. He hears Cole's voice strained, barely holding together. Hayes, you hear? Yeah, Hayes answers quietly. A breath of relief from Cole, small, fragile. Around them, others breathe heavily. Some whisper, some stay completely silent. No one knows what comes next. The doors slam shut. Darkness becomes absolute. The vehicle lurches forward. Time stretches. Minutes or hours. Impossible to tell. The only markers are the rhythm of the engine and the shifting terrain. Beneath the wheels, sometimes smooth, sometimes rough enough to throw them against each other. No one speaks for a long time. Then, from somewhere in the transport, a voice low, shaking. They didn't kill us. Another voice answers, bitter. Not yet. Silence again. Hayes leans his head back against the cold metal, forcing himself to think past the fear. They were captured, not eliminated. That means intelligence, interrogation, or worse, leverage. He flexes his wrists against the bindings. No give. Professional restraints. No mistakes. The vehicle slows. Everyone feels it. The engine drops to a low growl, then idles. A metallic clang echoes as the rear doors unlock. Light floods in, even through the hood, faint, but blinding after total darkness. Out, a voice commands. One by one, they're pulled to their feet and dragged down the ramp. The air outside is cooler now. Night. Hayes feels it immediately, the drop in temperature, the subtle shift in sound. No open desert wind. No wide emptiness. Walls. Enclosed space. A facility. Boots echo differently here, hard surfaces. Structured. They're marched forward in a line. Hayes counts steps instinctively, turns, pauses, trying to build a map in his head. Left. 20 paces. Stop. A door creaks open. He's pushed inside. The hood is ripped away. Light hits his eyes hard. Hayes blinks rapidly, vision struggling to adjust. The room is bare. Concrete walls. A single overhead light. No windows. Across from him, a man sits at a metal table. Clean uniform. No visible insignia. Watching him. Steadying him. Hayes steadies his breathing, forcing himself upright despite the bindings. The man doesn't speak right away. He just looks. The words hang in the air longer than they should. We've been expecting you. Hayes doesn't react, not outwardly. His face stays still, eyes locked on the man across the table. But inside, something shifts. This wasn't random. Not the strike. Not the ambush. Not even the capture. The man folds his hands neatly on the table, posture relaxed, almost casual. He studies Hayes like a file he already knows by heart. No surprise? The man asks. Hayes says nothing. The silence is deliberate, measured. The man gives a faint nod, as if confirming something. Discipline. That matches. He slides a thin folder across the table. It stops just short of Hayes's bound hands. United States Army, the man continues. Infantry. Multiple deployments. Decorations for. Consistency under pressure. A pause. Survival. Hayes's jaw tightens slightly. The man notices. Your convoy, he says, almost conversational. It was not the primary target. That lands harder than any strike. Hayes leans forward just a fraction. Then why hit it? The man's expression doesn't change. To isolate you. A beat. To observe how you respond under collapse. Hayes feels the weight of every moment replay in his mind. The missiles. The ridge. The drones watching from above. It was all a test. For what? Hayes asks, voice steady but lower now. The man tilts his head slightly, considering. For what comes next? Before Hayes can respond, the door behind him opens. Boots step inside. Heavy, deliberate. Hayes doesn't turn, but he listens. Another presence in the room now. The air changes. Is he confirmed? The new voice asks. Older, sharper, authority without effort. The man at the table nods once, without question. Hayes's pulse quickens, just slightly. Confirmed for what? A chair scrapes behind him. The second man moves closer, stopping just out of sight. You adapt quickly, Sergeant, the voice says. Most don't. They panic, break formation, lose purpose. A pause, but you didn't. Hayes stares forward, refusing to engage with the voice behind him. Why? The man asks. Hayes answers without turning. Because panic gets people killed. A faint exhale behind him, almost approval. Correct. Silence settles again, heavier now. Then the first man closes the folder. You're not here for information, he says. Hayes finally frowns, just slightly. Then why am I here? The two men exchange a glance, silent and readable. Then the second man steps into view, older, hardened, eyes that have seen too much and forgotten nothing. He studies Hayes for a long moment. Then he speaks. Because we need someone like you. The words don't make sense. Not yet. Hayes narrows his eyes. For what? The man doesn't answer immediately. Instead, he reaches into his coat and places a photograph on the table. He slides it forward. Hayes looks down. His breath catches. It's Cole. Alive, but restrained. In another room, a camera angle from above, surveillance. Proof. Hayes looks back up. The photograph doesn't leave Hayes's mind. Even after it's pulled back. Even after the man folds it neatly and places it inside the folder again. Like it's just another document. Cole's face bruised, exhausted. Alive. For now. Hayes exhales slowly, forcing control back into his voice. If you wanted information, you'd already have it. The older man watches him carefully. Correct. Then this isn't interrogation. No. Hayes leans forward slightly despite the restraints. So say it. A long pause. Then, we are offering you a choice. The word feels wrong in this room. Choice implies freedom. There is none here. The younger officer slides the folder aside, clearing the table between them. Clean, empty, deliberate. No theatrics, he says. No lies. You're too trained for that. The older man steps closer, resting his hands lightly on the back of the chair across from Hayes. But he doesn't sit. We are entering a phase of this conflict you don't yet understand, he says. The strikes you witnessed, those were not escalation. Hayes's eyes narrow. Then what were they? Calibration. The word lands cold. Hayes doesn't respond. The man continues. Every response, every movement, every decision made by your forces, it's being measured. Patterns built. Weaknesses identified. Hayes feels it click into place. The drones. The timing. The way they were pushed, not destroyed. You're mapping us, Hayes says. The younger officer gives a slight nod. Yes. A silence follows. Then Hayes asks the question that matters. And me? The older man finally pulls out the chair and sits directly across from him now. Close enough that there's no distance left to hide behind. You are not like the others, he says quietly. You think before you act. You preserve your unit. You adapt under pressure. A pause. You are useful. Hayes lets out a dry breath. So you want me to what, switch sides? No, the man replies calmly. We want you to do exactly what you already do. Hayes frowns. That makes no sense. It will. The younger officer reaches into his jacket and places something on the table. A small device. Compact. Unfamiliar. Hayes studies it without touching. What is it? He asks. The answer comes without hesitation. A channel. Hayes looks up. The older man's gaze is steady. We're going to send you back. The room seems to tilt for a second. Back, Hayes repeats. Yes. The word echoes in his mind. Freedom. Or something that looks like it. Hayes's eyes flick between the two men. And in return, The older man leans forward slightly. You carry that with you, he says, nodding toward the device. And you continue to survive. A pause, exactly as you've been doing. Hayes's voice drops. And if I don't? The answer is immediate. Then your friend dies. Silence crushed the room. Hayes looks at the device again. Small, simple, but it changes everything. If he takes it, he goes back, but not alone. And whatever this channel is. The room feels smaller now, not because the walls have moved but because the choice has. It sits on the table in front of Hayes. Small, silent, waiting. A way out, or a way deeper in. Hayes stares at the device, his reflection faint in its dark surface. He doesn't reach for it yet. He lets the silence stretch, testing it, measuring the man across from him the same way they've been measuring him. You're not just sending me back, he says finally. The older man doesn't deny it. No, you're inserting something. Yes. Hayes nods once, slow. Into us. A pause. Into the war. Neither man corrects him. That's all the confirmation he needs. Hayes leans back slightly, the metal chair scraping against concrete. You think I'll just walk back in, pretend nothing happened, and carry this for you? The younger officer answers this time. You won't pretend. Hayes looks at him. You'll survive, the officer says. And in doing so, you'll create opportunities. For you, Hayes replies. For outcomes, the officer corrects calmly. Hayes almost laughs but it doesn't come out. Outcomes. Clean word for something dirty. His eyes shift again to the device, then to the folder, then back. Let me see him, Hayes says. The older man studies him for a long second, then nods once. The younger officer steps out. The door opens, closes, silence returns. He waits. Seconds feel longer here. Then the door opens again. 2 guards bring someone in. Cole. He's on his feet, barely. His hands are bound, face bruised, eyes squinting against the light. But he's alive. Cole spots Hayes immediately. You okay? He asks, voice rough. Hayes nods once. I'm here. That's enough. The guards hold Cole in place. The older man gestures lightly toward him. Your decision affects him. Cole looks between them, confused. What's going on? Hayes doesn't answer right away. He looks at Cole, really looks, then at the device, then back again. This is the moment. No more delay. Hayes leans forward, slowly, deliberately. His bound hands reach the edge of the table. The room goes completely still. He hooks the device with his fingers and pulls it toward him. A small movement, but irreversible. Cole watches, not understanding yet. The older man exhales quietly, not relief. Confirmation. Hayes lifts his eyes. I go back, he says. A pause, but I do this my way. The older man studies him, then gives a slight nod. Of course. Hayes's voice hardens. If he dies, this ends. The older man doesn't smile, but something shifts in his expression. Then keep him alive, he says. The guards pull Cole back. The door opens, closes. Hayes is alone again. The device rests in his hands now. Warm, real, and somewhere beyond these walls, the war is still burning. But when he steps back into it, he won't just be a soldier anymore. He'll be something else. Something neither side fully controls. And that might be the most dangerous thing of all.